Welcome back, everyone. LanceScurv here, coming at you with another thought-provoking article of discussion. Now, this particular article that I ran across this morning was on RT.com. And if you don't know, that's a major Russian news website. And many times in reading this website and the material on it, you will see things that you will not see anywhere else, especially in the West, because these views may be diametrically opposed to the propaganda that those in the United States and the UK try to put out. It's just as simple as that. See, with me personally, I'm a world citizen, a global citizen. I can live anywhere on the planet that I want to, and I have to step back now in my maturity and basically assess, and I will not say judge, I will say assess the things that I see in the world fairly across all cultures, nationalities, races, religions, lifestyle choices, and so forth. So that being said, this is somewhat of a lengthy article, but it's something that is very, very important that we need to know about, because this is very much an international situation. As you well know, if they push, and I say they, the powers that be, right? And there's a whole lot of powers that be out here. But if you understand where I come from in the United States, you'll understand what powers that be I also often refer to, okay? So these forces want to dominate the world with their propaganda, with their ideologies, which they try to make it seem as though it's something really good, but it's not. And remember, I have to speak in a certain coded way so that it's not where this platform is destroyed, as it is continuously. So I have to jump between the lines and tiptoe through the tulips, so to say. That being said, the title of this particular article, and I want to give credit to the young man who wrote it, but it's down toward the end or the bottom of it, and I will state his name at the end of it. The title is God Destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, Why the Western Push to Promote LGBTQ in This African Country Could Backfire. And another subtitle is Ghana's Family Values Bill Seeks to Balance a Reliance on Foreign Aid with Tradition, Religion, and the Anti-Colonial Narrative. Ghana, a West African country with deeply ingrained cultural and religious values, is grappling with issues surrounding the criminalization of LGBTQ lifestyles. In February of 2024, the country's parliament passed the Promotion of Proper Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which seeks to promote traditional Ghanaian family values. The bill imposes penalties, including imprisonment for up to 5 years, for the promotion of LGBTQ activities. Although the bill received unanimous support from both caucuses of the parliament, it still requires the assent of the president to become law. However, its progression has been halted by a lawsuit citing concerns of discrimination against a section of the population, which has prevented the president from reviewing it until the Supreme Court determines its legality. The hearing, adjourned in May 2024 due to allegations that the petitioners had used inflammatory language, resumed this month. The fate of the bill is now in limbo as the Supreme Court of Ghana is expected to give its final verdict later this year. The pending verdict is particularly significant as it will determine whether the bill can be promulgated into law. This will also help determine Ghana's ability to uphold its sovereignty amid pressure from the Western countries and institutions. May I say that again? Amid pressure from Western countries and institutions. Ghana's situation reflects the complex dilemma of African countries in deciding on the position of LGBTQ in their institutional framework. It is illegal in 32 countries, including Nigeria, Mauritania, Sudan, Somalia, where death penalty can be imposed on people engaging in gay sex. In Uganda, the office of the president has referred to homosexuals as sick people who need help. This sentiment has been echoed by the former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, who questioned why humans should be compelled to engage in activities even animals do not do. South Africa remains the only African country to have legalized homosexuality, while others, such as Rwanda, have rejected discussions on the issue. Legal landscape, colonial or not. In Ghana, although there is no specific law criminalizing LGBTQ activities, attempts to regulate them are based on a perception of either of a Western imposed value system that contradicts Ghanaian norms or from a human rights perspective. Ghana has sought to apply Section 104 of its 1960 Criminal Code on issues of LGBTQ. The law criminalizes unnatural carnal knowledge of a person or animal. For instance, in 2021, a group of LGBTQ activists were arrested by the police for what was described as unlawful assembly meant to promote LGBTQ activities, but were later acquitted after a backlash from the international community. Section 104 of the Criminal Code has since been criticized as misinterpretation of the law and a colonial remnant that does not reflect today's realities, given its failure to define what exactly constitutes a natural carnal knowledge. In Botswana, in interpreting the legality of Article 164 of the Penal Code of 1964, in the case of Letsi Moshedimang, the High Court made reference to the Indian Penal Code written by the English politician and poet Macaulay of 1860, which stated unnatural offenses as whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal shall be punished with the imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to a fine. The ruling establishment that same-sex activities had been prohibited under British colonial rule, and thus the concept of unnatural carnal knowledge had been applied across most British colonies, including Gold Coast, now Ghana, by the colonial government, to move former British Prime Minister Theresa May, says she deeply regrets. However, 100 years after Macaulay's laws were enacted in India, the British colonial government of Botswana revised its stance on the issue, having adopted the Sexual Offences Act of 1967, which gave right to consensual adults to engage in homosexual activities. Following from that, some African countries such as South Africa and Mozambique decriminalized sodomy. Certain former British colonies such as Ghana and Botswana, and on the other hand, adopted the concept of unnatural carnal knowledge after gaining independence. How it is seen in traditional culture. Prior to colonization, traditional Ghanaian society was characterized by a complex family system that emphasized procreation with distinct gender-based role definitions. Men were considered to be heads of their families and could become chiefs, while women held enviable traditional power positions such as that of Queen Mother, playing significant roles in the conferring of chiefs and ushering young girls into adulthood and marriage. In the Akan traditional society, an ethnic group in Ghana, when a girl experienced her first menstrual cycle, she was taken to the Queen Mother of the community, fed and adorned in a white garment indicating readiness to be married. Such overt emphasis on gender roles indicates the importance pre-colonial Ghanaian society placed on distinguishing between men and women. Marriage, as the foundational unit of society, was largely based on the ability to conceive, with childbearing being particularly important for inheritance purposes. The matrilineal societies, such as the Akon, a man's heirs were his sister's children, while in the patrilineal society, the man's sons inherited his properties. The entrenchment of gender roles and procreation in the sexual and family traditions of pre-colonial Ghanaian society highlights the recognition of men and women as genders given at birth. Consequently, the concept of LGBTQ was considered alien, hence irrelevant, in the discussions of sexual socialization, even if they secretly existed. By this, the National House of Chiefs argues, nowhere does the Ghanaian culture subscribe to LGBTQI+, which is a taboo, inhuman, and alien to our society. The idea of man marrying a man and woman marrying a woman is an abomination to our culture and traditions as Ghanaians. Therefore, the concept of unnatural carnal behavior, intercourse, introduced by the British colonial government did not face resistance because it was already consistent with Ghana's traditional values at the time. This explains its inclusion in the Criminal Code of Ghana after gaining independence in 1957. In view of that, attempts by Western countries to advocate for the acceptance of homosexuality in Ghana as a right can be perceived as an attempt to impose a foreign culture and not reversal of a British colonial legacy, because Ghana has societal norms that are different from those of the United Kingdom, as emphasized by John Evans Atta Mills, a former president of Ghana. Religious influence. Many religions were introduced in Ghana from different regions of the world and have become integral to Ghanaian society. Christian missionaries arrived on the Gold Coast, now Ghana, in the 15th, for example. Though the imperial motives significantly influenced the spread of their teachings, the Bible was interpreted in such manner that suited the colonial agenda of the origin state. This is evident in the notorious King Leopold's 1883 letter to missionaries in Congo, where he forbade teaching about God and acknowledged the existence of their own religion and understanding of divinity. Instead, he directed missionaries to teach a love of poverty and insist on total submission to other various institutions. And you know I have a lot to say about that. The missionaries in Ghana built schools to enforce their policies. This historical account explains why most schools have strong affiliations to the Christian denominations. Consequently, Christianity gained momentum and spread extensively across the country, becoming the largest religion in Ghana. According to the 2021 Ghanaian census, 71% of the population is Christian, 18% is Muslim, 3% adhere to indigenous or animistic religious beliefs. Ahead of Ghana's upcoming presidential elections in December of 2024, we could ask what better strategic approach could there be to securing a simple majority than appealing to a religious perspective of events. In view of that, and whether out of religious morality or political expediency, the presidential candidates for the two main political parties, which are the National Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, on the LGBTQ matter has largely been based on their religious convictions. Both strongly oppose the legitimization of homosexuality, sentiments that have been echoed by the President of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, despite his earlier stated acceptance of its inevitability. While distinguishing between a religious and political stance on the issue is a complex task, one cannot doubt the overt disdain for the concept of LGBTQ within the various religious denominations in Ghana. Speaking to RT.com, the very site where we're getting this article, Reverend Peter Asser, a Ghanaian Christian priest of the Assemblies of God Church, a Christian denomination in Ghana, stated, "For Ghanaians, customs and traditions are very important. Christianity and traditional complement each other. You can't separate them. This is why a priest is called upon to bless traditional ceremonies like marriage, naming ceremonies, and other traditional events." When asked about the position of the religious leaders on the issue of the LGBTQ, he said, "Ghanaian society tolerates everyone. We do not discriminate against anyone. However, biblically, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for this act because during creation, God saw the need to have married couples to procreate to fill the earth. This is why he created Adam and Eve, and we are obliged to fulfill the purposes of God." Aid, boycotts, and sponsorships. On a visit to Ghana in March of 2023, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris addressed the issue of LGBTQ following a question from an American journalist. "It's an issue that we, the U.S. government, consider, and I consider, to be a human rights issue, and that will not change," she stated. The U.S. Vice President's comment triggered the already brewing skepticism about the role of Western institutions in the country. Foa Amoning, or that's a name, Foa Amoning, Executive Director for Ghana National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, argued that the question was staged and the primary purpose of the visit was to promote LGBTQ activities in the country. "The intelligence we gathered showed that Kamala Harris is coming to promote this LGBTQ agenda. I can tell you that the question asked by the New York Times journalist was planned," he said. For Amoning also referred to a comment by the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, that passing the bill into law will discourage foreign investors. An assertion MP Samuel Nartey George, a principal advocate of the bill, disagrees with. He believes the West needs Ghana. American businesses operating today in Ghana are not doing so because of the LGBTQI. We must stop cheapening ourselves and making it look like we have no sense of self-worth. Drawing on Ghana's historic struggle for independence, the MP has threatened to launch a campaign against all U.S. businesses. By this, he invoked the memories of Ni Kwabena Boni, a prominent Ghanaian businessman during colonialism who in 1948 called for the reduction of exorbitant prices imposed by European firms from the colonial states. Following a British colonial government refusal to pay Ghanaian army veterans who fought in World War II, Ghanaians responded by boycotting goods from the colonial powers. The colonial government, however, retaliated with force by shooting 3 ex-servicemen to death, sparking a series of protests which ultimately forced the colonial power to grant independence to Ghana in 1957. Despite the backlash, the U.S. government remains resolute in its quest to promote LGBTQ activities in Ghana by hoisting the rainbow flag in their embassy. Together with some allied Western countries, they have labeled the bill that has full backing of Parliament as draconian and threatened economic sanctions on Ghana similar to those imposed on Uganda should the president sign the bill into law. Ghana's economy is in trouble, struggling to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government was forced to default on a loan repayment and develop stringent austerity measures as part of the $3 billion IMF bailout. Consequently, the Ministry of Finance has also urged the president not to approve the bill as it will jeopardize Ghana's access to $3.8 billion in World Bank funding for up to 6 years. Nathaniel Darmina, president of the African Institute of DeFi and Blockchain and Yafu Institute Policy Research Organization in Ghana, told RT, regarding IMF and World Bank financial assistance, we are yet to hear from representatives of these institutions on the issue. So far, it's the representatives of the ruling government, reps from Ministry of Finance, who have extensively stated that these institutions will withdraw financial support from Ghana should the country pass the proper family values bill that criminalizes LGBTQ activities. Ghana needs to have a relook at its policies as a developing country. The high unemployment rate, currently standing at 13% in Ghana, is what drives many individuals into LGBTQ activities, which are considered as part of black market activities, including prostitution, Nathaniel said. He adds, there is a perception that LGBTQ individuals are rich. The sources of sponsorship for LGBTQ individuals remain unclear, but it is evident that people get into LGBTQ circle as a form of financial support due to unemployment. Ghana's heavy reliance on aid from the United States and institutions such as the IMF and World Bank has put its government in a delicate position regarding the Family Values Bill. The issue of LGBTQ acceptance in Ghana illustrates the concept of neocolonialism articulated by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in his book Neocolonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. According to him, the imperial power sees the dependent nation as a sovereign only from a theoretical point of view, while it covertly influences the dependent nation's economic and political policies from the outside. As a global society moves towards a multipolar world, Ghana is seeking to forge genuine partnerships across the globe and to make independent decisions, including on issues of the LGBTQ as a sovereign country. And the one who wrote this article is Maxwell Boima Amofa. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing all of the names correctly. I just went ahead and just said it, and I will post a link to this article on LanceScurv.com on the corresponding post of this video. While we have fun on this platform, while we speak of things of entertainment and sports and life hacks and improvement, spiritual matters, we talk about everything here on LanceScurv. So one day you might see one type of thing on relationships, you might see something in the medical field, which we have to be careful that way, because I have to say, and the article is over, okay? I'm going to share a few thoughts. It was a lengthy article, but many people are not going to read something this long. So I said to myself, let me read it, and let me break things down, as well as some other things that I want to speak about. And then allow me to take a sip right now. My lips are quite dry, understandably. Thank you. Like I want to say, first of all, there's a lot of censorship going on in the media. And it's getting worse and worse. Let me say, to not make it so long, but social media was introduced to us over 20 years ago. In the 1990s, from what I noticed, we had message boards and we had rooms that we can go to, and then AOL came out with chat rooms, and that's how things went. Very interesting time indeed, especially when you had dial-up and you had to wait a long time to get that connection to the internet. But more and more as time went on, the internet became an integral part of our life. Who would have ever thought that many of us who refused, and I know several individuals who refused to do their banking online, now depend on it. Things that we didn't have to depend on before. We still don't have to depend on it, but we'll be severely handicapped if we don't get involved. Now it's at a point now where social media is not a thing of choice. but it has been the catalyst to cause other factions to sneak into our lives in an unsuspecting manner, and now we are very much dependent on it. So social media is here, the smartphone is here, and they were separate entities indeed. And like I've always said before, there was a time when we had to get home to our computer to check our emails. Other than that, we had to wait all day if we were at work. So when we get home and check our email, we see the messages that were sent to us. We take a little time to send it back. But guess what? We have a cell phone now, a smartphone. And once you were able to get an internet signal on the smartphone, that was a wrap. Society changed. Writing a letter, mailing a letter was greatly reduced now. The only thing we use the postal service for mainly is for the delivery of hard items. You know, we're not in the age of Star Trek now where we can have transporters and shoot things across the universe in a moment's time. But we're moving toward that. But we gave up on the traditional means of communication. Newspapers are folding. TV is suffering. And now we have everything on social media, YouTube, video platforms. The news organizations now depend on social media because we have everything in hand. Very seductive indeed. We don't complain about that 1 hour commute or that 2 hour commute to a job if we have to ride a train or a subway. Now we have our smartphones. We can bury our head and we basically bow our head more to the smartphone than we do to the creator who made us. Isn't that something? And many times in the houses of worship, the one who is in front speaking, whether it's an imam or pastor or rabbi, they feel good about the bowed heads that they see, not understanding that those bowed heads are bowed to the cell phone that has really become their God. It's a tool that's good, that can be used for the good. Sure. It can be used for the good. But it opens us up now to a lot of propaganda, a lot of influence. And when we seek to express our opinions like we freely did many years ago, now they're shot down because it's hate speech. It's speech that goes against what's right, or it's medical misinformation. To even state your opinion of what you feel something is as it's happening on a global level, it's misinformation. So now the very thing they gave you, they pull away from you now. And they control you with, and we are hooked on it. Hook, line, and sinker. And that's not good at all. So, that being said, with this being our only source now, because we don't read books, we don't talk to people from other countries, we don't travel. I'm not saying everybody, but most of us do not travel. Most of us don't have a wide view of the world because we haven't been anywhere. And if you do have an opinion, let's just use Ghana as an example, it's because of what was told to you on some program. You might see a documentary and feel you're knowledgeable on it, but it's nothing like going there. And I use Ghana as an example. I could be speaking about Czechoslovakia. I could be speaking about the Philippines. I could be speaking about Venezuela. I could be speaking about Alaska. I could be speaking about China. It doesn't matter. The next best thing to go in there is to speaking to people that live there, because maybe, just maybe, they will tell you something that the news will not tell you, because every news platform, and I mean every news platform, and every journalist has a slant toward a certain ideology. If you look at America, you look at CNN, you look at Fox News, they both can report on the same thing and put such a slant to make it digest in your subconscious mind that is something completely different from what really happened. And many people will rally behind these ideologies because they may want it to be a certain way. So we have a bunch of delusional people who are watching news platforms and they're not fair and balanced. And then when you have sponsorships of big companies, food companies, tech companies, companies that have their own ideology, they're going to donate money to the platform that has the closest mentality to what they believe in. So it's big business, and they have to be sensationalized to keep the butts in the seat. You understand? So they will state something a certain way. And here we go arguing over the talking points of the talking heads that we see every day that we feel represent our ideology. So even when you read a newspaper, no matter where it is, or watch a TV program, or watch something that is written on an article, on a website that's forwarded to you, or something on Instagram, or something on Twitter, or Truth, or whatever platform you follow, ask yourself, where are they coming from with the words that they share? What is their ideology? How do they think? What is it that they're trying to convince me of? Because right now, I have to say, we have to push and read articles like this from this brother, because he's telling the absolute truth. And he has no motivation to slant it any which way. But when we have people like this who speak truth, it's usually drowned out by the millions, and may I say it, billions of dollars of these individuals and companies and governments who have the money to sink in to the propaganda machine that has become the internet. And if it's not just that, other stuff is thrown out there so you don't even inquire about what's going on in the world. I have people forward me things every day that have nothing to do with world affairs. It might be something of a woman who's scantily clad, who's undulating to the beat of music. And it will send me hundreds of these videos. Why? It may be something foolish. It might be a street fight. It might be some dancing meme or something to keep us in a perpetual state of ignorance, not aware of what's going on in the world, why big decisions are made by these governments who don't care about you, by these corporations who don't care about you. They only care about getting more money in their pocket, and the more that they control you by blanketing you in ignorance, is the better and easier it is for them. So we have become mental, spiritual, and oftentimes physical maggots that care not except to feast on the carcass of decadence. And we don't ascend any more higher than we should. And then you have other people with their ideologies. When I used to live in America, they're so condescending and so entitled. The Karens of the world, the Brads of the world, they're annoying itself. I can go deeper into that, but I know somebody's going to complain and try to take this video down. But you know how I think. You've been following me for years. Demented, disillusioned people who do not see reality as it should be seen. And they manipulate the world, and they manipulate the darker peoples of the world with their money to cause them to come aboard with their ideology. But wherever these people go with their money, wherever these people go with their ideology, understand that they have destroyed the original fabric of the land that they've come to. Yet they tell you to go back. They tell you to go back, but if they had to go back, where would they go? The hills and caves of Europe. They call us savages. They call us poor. But we were savages. But how are we savages when we taught them civilization, right? But we run behind them as though they know so much. All they know is death, dishonor, and destruction. Because if you read the real history and independent accounts of the movement of these people across the earth, that's all they left behind: death, dishonor, and destruction. And here we are in the modern day. We do have corrupt leaders who are melanated, who have been bombarded with the religious dogma and propaganda, the repainting of those who are supposed to come back and save us after 2,000 years to look like someone else, so that we worship all of those who look like them. And we have it bad. We have it real bad. We should stand up. We do not need any Western country. We do not need any aid. We stand on very rich, wealthy ground. They've given us their religion, yet they don't follow their religion. If you look at their actions, they want us to be other than who we are. So we stop procreating with each other. They want us to be spiritually wicked. Now you take this whichever way you want, because I'm saying it all carefully. They put up America as being one of the greatest countries on the face of the earth, but look at the state of America as it's rotting out. The drug addiction, the sex trafficking, which does go all over the world, the homelessness, the unemployment numbers that are rising, the collapsing dollar, the leaders who are more interested in lining their pockets with a diminishing dollar before it falls, the predatory loans, the racism, the murder, the killing, the chaos, the lack of mental peace in that place. No, I'm not an American. I am on paper, but I am not. I'm a global citizen of the original people of the planet, melanated, okay? The sun loves me. The sun doesn't burn me. I know who I am. And those people do not strike fear in my heart, and they will never have me change my ideologies. And I won't even say belief. It's something that you know. You see, when you go out into what many call the wild, and it's not wild. There's nothing wild about nature. Many of us go to churches, synagogues, and mosques, to a brick and mortar structure, seeking the presence of God. But we have more racism, we have more sexism, we have more scandal in those places because it's easy to dress up and play this thing. But when you go out into nature, what we call the animals have more intuition and respect for the order, because each animal is gifted with a way of protecting itself, and each animal is gifted with a direct download from the Creator. And each animal acts according to the way in which it was made. Now we come back to what this article is all about. We as humans want to act out of the way we were made. Now, did I say anything wrong? You know what I mean, but you don't like it, many of you. But it's the truth. If the Creator says this, we want to do that. If the Creator says that, we want to do this. We don't want to do what we're supposed to do. If you use a tool in a way that it's not made for, it breaks. But we feel we can do things and go against the natural order of things. And just like it was stated in this article, we want to do things that even the animals know not to do. Yes, and it is spiritual. And we will fall here in Ghana if we submit. And how can we be so afraid to stand on principle? And I applaud all of those who are traditionalists. And I'm going to say it this way. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you stand on what you feel is right. Now, if what you feel is right out there in the world is decadence, then go for it. But you should respect the land and the people who have their culture and their tradition. Who are you to turn around and say, oh, you need to have this and have that, and you have Kamala Harris come out here and frame it as a human rights issue. But in your own damn country, you cannot execute any kind of order on human rights. When you're stepping over people before you go into your courthouse who are on the curb and homeless. When you're ignoring the cry of the hungry people who can't find work. Who are the descendants of those who built your country. When you have veterans who fought in your wars for your corporate gain. That are now sleeping under overpasses. And on the curb. Hungry. With mental issues after suffering so much in those wars and seeing so much death and realizing that they were used. And don't tell me I'm telling a lie, because there are many veterans out there that I'm in contact with, that I talk to over the decades of my 61 plus few months years on this earth. But we're supposed to be censored. We're supposed to be corralled now The witch hunt is on. Anybody who speaks against the agenda must have their character smeared or their work taken away. Then stop me from talking directly to my people, face to face with a bullhorn and crowds. We got to go back to the basic. We got to go back to what brought us into unity. You see, with the economy poor here in Ghana and doing and struggling, and these people wanting to force things on us and against our traditions for a little bit of money. Let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question. Take all the people that you like and know. Take all the people that are close to you. Because we know more people than we have in our inner circle, evidently, large and small. Take them all. And let's just say, just to make the point, way out in the jungle somewhere, wherever that jungle may be, it might be South America, might be Africa, but let's just say 1,000 miles into the jungle, or 1,000 miles away from any village, any town, any city, if we can find a place like that, right? But somewhere so remote where there's no cell phone signal, where there's nothing, absolutely nothing, right? And you take all of the people that you know you can trust and that you care for, your children, your friends, your family, those who you've known for a long time, those who you just simply like. And I give you each 10 million US American dollars. Each of you. It's not a loan. You don't have to pay it back. I give this to you. Now, I drop you all in this jungle, and you have all of this money, all of this paper money. You have cell phones, but now they don't work because there's no signal. You're cut off from the outside world. How much value does that money have? Because it's only you and God and His creation when you're out there. Only you and God and the people that you chose to be out there with you. What are you going to do? Are you going to pay somebody to build a house for you out of the circle of friends and inner circle people that you love and trust? Well, what are they going to do with the money? Are they going to go to the store and buy groceries? There is no store. Are they going to go to the club to relax and get away from the stress of not having anything? Because when I put you out there, there's going to be no house. There's going to be no electricity. There's going to be no restaurants. I'm not trying to be cruel to you now. I just want to show you that your money, no matter how much you have in your pocket, when it's you and the Creator, it means nothing. The money only means something when you're in the system that it was designed to be utilized in. And that system is a counterfeit system that has taken us away and moved us away from the rule of the Creator in the natural world. And we don't see that. We're running so hard, trading in our life force for a piece of paper that they can manipulate the value of. We become whores for the piece of paper. Just like the joke says, and the man in the bar says to a woman, listen, I'll give you $1 if you sleep with me. And she says, oh God, what kind of woman do you think I am? How dare you insult me that way? But then if he has a suitcase with $1 million in it, she's ready to jump down on her knees, and we're not talking that she's down there to pray. You see what I mean? So I'm not saying everybody has their price, but most people don't understand how much value that doesn't have. So now here you are with your friends way out in the remote jungle somewhere, 1,000 miles away from any village, town, city, or megalopolis. Metropolis, I said it to be funny. What are you going to do? You have to depend on each other. The money means nothing. If you plan on going back, you'll say, okay, I will use this money when I go back into the system. But the system is not real, and you will learn that. You have to depend on each other. And this is what I tell most of the people that I come in contact with when I was in America, and now happily out of America in the country of my lineage, in the country of Mr. Scurv's lineage. Vibrating high, vibrating away from the colonizers that only see you as an opportunity to use you, to save money, to get you to work from can't see morning to can't see night for their convenience. See, they can never do anything on their own. They need you. But see, we need each other. And the money has made us feel as though we don't need each other. It has infiltrated the minds of many of us in the Western world, and those who are in places where the Western mindset is the majority. But here it is. Today we have women. I'm not blaming our sisters in America, but those sisters in America I know very well. And I'm not saying everyone, right? But you're quick to hear us on the internet. I'm not saying us like it's me, but our sisters, many of them. I don't need a man. I have my own car. I have my own house. I have my own this. I don't need a man. No. I'm a modern black woman. I'm a modern sister. I do for myself. But the loneliness sets in. We weren't made to be apart from each other. It doesn't mean that you have to tolerate being with someone who you don't like. But this attitude has turned off so many men that don't want to be around with these masculine women with the masculine energy. That feminist energy that has been pushed on the black woman. Been pushed on the black woman to break her away from her man. These feminists, these white feminist females, hated to see the black nuclear family. So when they started to have social workers come to the homes in the 60s and possibly the 60s or 50s, I couldn't tell you the original date because I was born in 1963 and I didn't come out of the womb as brilliant as I am now, right? So maybe someone could help me in the comments section. But you couldn't have a man around when you received welfare. You can receive money. But when that social worker came to that house, she better not see man boots. She better not see man's clothes in the closet. She better see the right amount of toothbrushes in that bathroom that corresponded with the people who lived there. You got 2 kids and it's just you better be 3 toothbrushes. Because if you have a man around to help you, you lose the benefits. So the government, the U.S. government, has become the head of many black households, single black women households. The children basically call their father, their daddy is the government. They call the government their daddy. Daddy, is the check coming, mommy? And black men are put down in America, in the media. Black men ain't shit. Black men are lazy. Black men, when the facts are, black men don't have a slew of children all over the place. The majority of black men, over 50%, do not have children. The majority of black men are good fathers. But the propaganda in the media says different, and we run with it. There aren't any good black men. Really? We stop the expectations from sucking up to the wrong nipple called the American media. And all this entertainment out here that we all run to, trust and believe, it's not there to entertain. Hollywood and the entertainment industry and the music industry is not there to just entertain you. It's there to program you. That's why they used the term back in the day, television program, radio program, internet program. It is a program. And your mind is like the empty computer that they instill this program into over and over, and they do things and they infuse that sound with messages carefully constructed to influence your thinking. And we suck it in hook, line, and sinker. We eat this food symbolically into our minds that's laced with poison to get us to think against each other. Back in the 60s, we would greet each other as men. Hey, my brother, how are you? Now when we see each other, we're ready to fight. We start to break each other. Look at his shoes are funny. He's not as good as I am. I got more money than him. I got more cars than him. I'm more handsome than him. I'm smarter than him. I come from up north. You come from down south. Huh? I'm lighter than you. You're darker than me, so you're less. You're from Jamaica. You're not FBA, Foundational Black American. You're not indigenous. You're not American descendants of slavery. You're not the Pan-Africanist, or you're not this. You're not black enough. You're half white. Or you come from this country. Black people are the most divided people on the planet. And when you divide something up enough, you dilute its power. You can go to South America. You can go to the Caribbean. The sale of bleaching cream is at an all-time high. Why is that? Because we hate the color of our skin. Because we've been taught that white is better. And in those countries, they say to marry up. Marry someone white or much lighter than you so you can improve the bloodline. We have a mental sickness, yet our feet stand atop all of the resources of the planet. And we're so caught up in stuff that is so insignificant. But the one who is the colonizer robs us, and we end up paying him for the use of the stuff that was given to us for free. How sick is that? In Ghana, many brag about the quality chocolate bars that they eat. Oh, this is a quality chocolate bar from Europe, the UK. It is made of the highest cocoa and chocolate in the world. And you're paying all of this money. But guess what? Ghana is one of the chief producers of cocoa in the world. And it's coming from under your foot. And these big companies are allowed to come here and take the cocoa that you should be benefiting from, that is the best in the world, and they repackage it and make you pay money that you don't even have, and you think you're on a higher status because of what the colonizer has done. Your colonial masters have done and fooled you. What a fool we have become. We parade around with the white woman like we have accomplished something. Oh, she's an improvement, while many of your black sisters need you. Many of our black brothers, some of them, will leave that sister and run with a white woman. Oh, he's talking racist. No, I'm talking truth. You don't accuse the weatherman of lying when he says today at around noontime it's going to have a torrential storm. Stay in. Don't go out. Only go out if you have to, and if you have to go out, come back in due time. There's a bad storm coming. And you go outside and you ignore what is told to you by one who is designated to tell the weather forecast, and you forget your umbrella. So now do you curse out the weatherman? He warned you. I'm just speaking the words that reflect reality. But many in the powers that be would rather me have my mind messed up from being intoxicated on the drugs that they bring into our neighborhoods wholesale. Well, how did he get away? How was he talking this way? We can't have anybody that looks like him, who people can relate to, who look like him, and start to wake them up. I'm nobody's savior. I'm just a regular dude that got past the traps. Because you see, on social media, we have so many talking heads who want to be a prophet. I've had a man tell me, well, you know, I am a prophet. How do you spell that? P-R-O-F-I-T? Because surely it's not P-R-O-P-H-E-T. So many people who call themselves prophet are only out here for a good profit. And it's not just money. They want the profit that comes from attention. The profit that comes from what they feel is a profit. Multiple women on the sly. Whatever they want to indulge in. Some indulge in drugs, who knows, whatever it may be. But many of the people who you see out here speaking their mind, they're not sincere. It seems like in this world, the love is gone. The unity is gone. And I say, don't try to save the world, but try to influence those in your walk. Try to influence those by the way you move, that they will feel the realness from the light that comes from you. Because after a while, the false light, that engineered false light that's a copy of the real thing, you won't benefit from that after a while. But when you get near people who are really about it, over time, you will see what they're all about. And most of these frauds cannot let you into their personal world. Most of these frauds cannot tell you about their past and actually show you and bring people to the forefront who can vouch for them consistently. See, I have friends that I've had over 50 years old, and I'm 61 years old. And you know what? They all know each other. Not everybody, but the core from my neighborhood, which would be considered my village. We know each other's parents. We know each other's brothers and sisters. We know each other's family. We know what each family member does for a living. And we had a lot of stay-at-home mothers. And I have to applaud the stay-at-home mothers who held it together and taught the daughters and taught the sons while the father went out and got the means to keep it going. But that home life is something that the powers that be want to destroy. And if you don't have family, if you don't have love in your family, in a nuclear family, you cannot have a community that's intact. And if you don't have a community that's intact, you won't have order in that community, and the people that are part of that community will perish. Because it will no longer be a community. It'll just be a neighborhood. So while we have our villages and our towns and our places and our cultures and our countries all over the world, realize that we are interconnected, and these demons, no matter what they call themselves, are trying to destroy the natural order of family. Think to yourself, any activity out here in the world, if it doesn't benefit the family, it's no good at all. Ask yourself and budget your energy. And I'm not throwing off on anyone. All I'm saying is that we all should be in a state of self-improvement, not going back to things that are going to destroy us, to activities that are going to destroy us, to lifestyles that are going to destroy us. All power to all who may be struggling with something. I'm not knocking you if that's the case. But this is not something that is important to the development of the black family, as we are under attack, but nobody wants to say anything. We turn our heads and dive into entertainment, which is nothing more than a cerebral crack pipe. The cell phone has become the crack pipe of choice now. We suck on that pipe all day, every day, and allow anything to infiltrate our minds. And our actions of self-improvement and growth and liberation for ourselves as a people has diminished. I come from an era where I remember the old school mentalities and the real scholars who read books. Now any old joker can put an ankh on and grow out some locks and call himself this or that and verbally plagiarize the next YouTube video, and you think they're saying something great. Everybody wants attention, but nobody wants to really put in the work away from the crowds, away from the podiums, as they should. And if we all do what we have to do as a people and not try to be the shining star. And I'm going to end it on this. When you look at a watch, whether it's a cheap watch or an expensive watch, let's take an expensive watch. You look at the faceplate, you see the diamonds, and you see the gold, you see the second hand, the minute hand, the hour hand, how well made it is. The faceplate can't do it all by itself. For that brilliant faceplate to do what it does on the watch, if you go behind and see the tiny gears that move in precision, in blackness, in darkness, they never get seen. They never get the accolades. They are the ones driving that watch. Too many of us want to be the faceplate, but nobody wants to be the gear doing the work. Let's reject all of this foolishness and get back into the traditions. The Ghanaian people are a wonderful people, but don't fall victim to the Western mindset. Stick to your traditions of family, of order, of training men to be fathers and our women to be wives. And if the world collapses because they've compromised their traditions, if they had any in the first place, it matters not, because we have to look out for each other. We can't save everyone, but we have to do what's right for us as a people. Leave your comments. Much love to you all. LanceScurv out. On to the next one. I hope you enjoyed this.